What's up everyone, my name is Zach. I'm the founder of the DIYgolfer.com, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down the golf ball rollback. So if you're not in the loop, last Wednesday the USGA and R&A, golf's two governing bodies that establish the rules of golf, announced that your golf ball is going to travel a shorter distance in the future. In this short video we're going to break everything down. We're going to talk timelines, we're going to talk why this is happening, we're going to look at some numbers, I'm going to do some calculations for you, try to figure out how much this is going to impact the average golfer. So let's start with what this is. Well, the golf ball rollback is officially a change in the ODS, or overall distance standard, which currently sits at 317 yards. But what do I mean by that? Well, essentially it is the parameters that golf ball manufacturers have to use when they're testing their golf balls under quality control and before they sell them. These parameters determine whether a golf ball is conforming or non-conforming. So now that robot's going to be swinging 5 miles per hour faster at 125 miles per hour, a launch angle of 11 degrees, and a lower spin rate of 2200 RPMs. So essentially what this golf ball rollback is the governing bodies telling the equipment manufacturers that those parameters have changed. So when is this all happening? Well, here's the short timeline. So starting October 1st, 2027, that is when manufacturers, Titleist, Callaway, so on and so forth, have to start testing with those new parameters. On January 1st, 2028, that is when the tour pros will have to start playing with these new conforming golf balls, and January 1st of 2030 is when all of us have to use these new golf balls. And as of right now, about 30% of all golf balls will meet that conforming standard without any changes whatsoever. Unfortunately, your Titleist Pro V1s do not fit in that category, so they will be one of the balls affected. In the announcement, the USGA listed a little table of how much distance impact you're going to see based on your club head speed. So I've kind of written these down. If you hit the ball between 150 to 200 yards off the tee, you're going to see a decrease of about 1 to 3 yards. If you hit it 200 to 250 yards, you'll see a decrease of 3 to 5 yards, 250 to 300, 5 to 11 yards, and 300 plus, a decrease of 13 to 15 yards. These are obviously approximations, but you'll get in the ballpark with them. That's just a general idea of what you can expect. So where did this all start and why is it happening? Well, it started with this right here. This is the Distance Insights project that started in 2018 by the R&A and the USGA. And the idea here was to study the change in driving distance, or overall hitting distance, of golfers over basically the century, starting in like 1900. And I unfortunately had the pleasure of reading this for about 30 minutes today. I'm going to share with you the major insights, which is basically just two things. So these guys are claiming that this whole ball change is for two reasons. Number one, golfers are essentially overpowering golf courses. The idea here is that if the original architect of the course put a bunker 280 yards in the middle of the fairway, and now golfers are flying it 300 yards, then they're overpowering the golf course because they've basically taken that hazard, or that bunker, out of play, and they're playing the golf course not as the original architect intended it to be played. The second reason that they give is that because of these distance increases, a lot of the new golf courses have been increasing their average yardages. And they're hitting us with some left hooks here, saying that that requires more capital investment and higher annual operating cost, which is technically true. And they have concerns about, the increased amount of water and chemicals that have to be used to maintain it. So obviously these two things are not going to be popular opinions for most amateur golfers. Alright, so all that happened starting in 2018, and back in March of this year, 2023, a proposal hit the table called the Model Local Rule. And that basically said that we're going to bifurcate golf. Basically means that the pros and amateurs are going to play under a different set of rules, where the pros have to play these shorter golf balls and amateurs can continue playing the balls that they're already using. So this was the original proposal. They were going to go ahead with this, but this hit lots of opposition, and allegedly it was from mostly tour players. That said, Rory and Tiger had our backs. They are in support of bifurcation, or having different rules for amateurs and pros.
As I told you guys, I've always been for bifurcation. You know that, I've always said that.
So in summary, a bunch of people in the golf industry talked, and that got thrown out the window, and it is now a universal rule that was announced last Wednesday. In other words, it will apply to everyone, not just the pros. All right, to wrap up this video, I've got a nice little discussion topic. We'll leave some comments below whether you agree or disagree with this, any other ideas you have. But essentially, we can break down how much this is going to affect you using the strokes gain methodology. We can understand how much a gain in distance or loss in distance will affect your scoring average. If you don't know what strokes gained is, I'll try to leave a link in the description. You can check it out, learn a little bit more, but essentially it's a system that was developed, I think it was back in like 2008 or something, maybe a little bit earlier, by Mark Brody, and he published a book called Every Shot Counts, which basically outlines the whole methodology and how it works. Basically what it's trying to do is isolate each part of your game and attribute how many strokes you have gained in one part of the game. And in his book, Every Shot Counts, Brody breaks down how much an extra 20 yards is going to give you in terms of average strokes per round. So I'm going to throw a table up on the screen that I calculated, and the assumed driving distance on this table is me just making an assumption that as the player gets better, they're going to hit the ball a little bit further. So those assumed driving distances are what I'm going off, and based on the USGA's announcement, we can figure out roughly how many yards you're going to lose based on that driving distance. Like I said, this is really rough estimates I'm doing here, some back the envelope math here, but what we can do is get it down to strokes per yard. And let's say that you're a 90s golfer and you're expecting to lose on average about 5 yards from this golf ball rollback. Well, what we can do is take the 0.08 strokes per yard, multiply it by 5, and that gets you about 0.4 strokes per round that you're going to lose as a result of losing this distance from the golf ball rollback. So if we're looking at this from a data-driven approach and you buy into the strokes gain methodology, what this shows us is that the golfers that are going to be most impacted by this rule change are the further hitting golfers. And something that I found myself forgetting over and over again is, sure, I might lose half a stroke per round, but so is everyone else. And so all things equal, the longer golfers are going to be hit a lot harder with this. And if they're looking at the data, you'd expect the longer hitters on tour to be more opposed to this than the shorter hitters. I've seen a lot of opposite arguments saying this is going to affect shorter hitters more, so I wanted to put this data in front of you. Leave in the comments if I missed something, if you disagree with this methodology, but under these assumptions, under the assumption that as you gain distance your score drops, then I think it's pretty rock solid to say that amateur golfers are actually going to be impacted a lot less. But to wrap us up, I'll ask you, what do you think the impact of this rule change is going to be? Leave it in the comments. Let me know who you think this is going to impact the most. What are the side effects of this? If anything, I feel like this opens up a can of worms in terms of what the USGA and R&A can do in terms of rule changes. Are we going to see more rule changes in different categories at an increasing pace over the years? Let me know in the comments what you think. Be interested to read all those. Hopefully you found this informative. I've got a website, like I said, thediygolfer.com. You can check that out in the description. I write a newsletter that covers things like this every Saturday. So check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.